Hey, before we jump in, if you're a fan of clear, simple explainers that get right to the point, do us a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us make more of these for you. All right, today we are tackling one of the most popular TED Talks in history. We're going to unpack the brilliant and, let's be honest, pretty provocative vision of the late Sir Ken Robinson. And here it is, the question that really started a global firestorm of a conversation. Do the very schools that are supposed to be building our kids up for the future actually crush the one skill they need most? See, Sir Ken Robinson didn't just pose a question. He made this incredibly bold claim. He argued that creativity isn't just some nice-to-have arts and crafts hour kind of thing. Nope. He said in today's world, it is just as important as being able to read and write. We have to treat it with that same level of seriousness. So how are we going to unpack his argument? Simple. We're going to walk through 5 key ideas. First, what he called the creativity crisis. Second, the outdated industrial age system that he says causes it. Third, how we become terrified of being wrong. Fourth, a new way to think about intelligence. And finally, his beautiful idea for a new human ecology. Okay, so first up, this idea that we're in the middle of a genuine crisis. Robinson's big point is that all children, and I mean all of them, have these amazing creative talents, but somewhere along the line, the education system squanders them. We don't grow into creativity, we get educated out of it. You know, Robinson loved this quote from Picasso, and it just nails his point perfectly. The real challenge isn't about teaching kids to be creative. It's about creating an environment where the creativity they're already born with can actually survive the journey to adulthood. So if we're being educated out of our natural creativity, what's the culprit? Well, Robinson argues the problem is baked right into the DNA of our education system, a system that was built for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. And this is fascinating when you think about it. Public schools as we know them came about in the 19th century, and they weren't designed to create poets or dreamers. They were designed for industrialism. They were built to churn out 2 types of people, reliable factory workers and, at the very top, academics. And this old mindset created a very clear food chain of subjects, a hierarchy that's basically the same in every single country. At the very top, you've got math and languages, the useful subjects. A little further down, the humanities, and way at the bottom, the arts, especially drama and dance, the things you do with your body. Robinson had this great line. He said, if you look at who our system really celebrates, who gets all the gold stars, you'd think the whole point of public education is to produce university professors. They're the end product. The system is designed to reward one very specific kind of smart, academic ability. And that singular focus on finding the one right answer leads to this next huge problem. The system, day in and day out, teaches us that making a mistake is the absolute worst thing you can do. And that creates a culture of fear. Robinson tells this just wonderful story that captures this fearless spirit of kids. A little girl in art class is drawing, and the teacher asks what she's drawing. A picture of God, she says. The teacher says, but nobody knows what God looks like. And the little girl just replies, they will in a minute. That's originality. And you see this huge contrast, right? Kids are born risk takers. They'll have a go. But as we get older, we learn that mistakes are punished. We become frightened of being wrong. And that fear is a creativity killer. And this is the bottom line. It's so simple and so powerful. If you are not prepared to be wrong, you will never, ever come up with anything original. Period. You shut down the whole process before it even starts. So, how do we get past this? Well, according to Robinson, we have to completely blow up our narrow idea of what it means to be smart. It's not one single thing, it's this beautiful, diverse spectrum. He says there are 3 main things to understand about intelligence that our system just ignores. 1, it's incredibly diverse. We think visually, in sounds, in movement. 2, it's dynamic. Our brains aren't file cabinets. Ideas happen when different disciplines interact. And 3, it's totally distinct. Your intelligence is as unique as your fingerprint. Now, to really drive this point home, he tells the amazing, true story of a choreographer named Gillian Lynne. Back in the 1930s, her school was convinced she had a learning disability. Why? Because she couldn't sit still. She was always fidgeting, always disturbing the other kids. So her mom takes her to a specialist. And after they talk for a while, the doctor says he needs to speak to her mom privately for a moment. But on his way out of the room, he does something clever. He turns on the radio on his desk. And the second they left, Gillian was up on her feet, just moving beautifully to the music. The doctor watched her through the window, turned to her mother, and said something that changed her life forever. He said, "Mrs. Lynne, Gillian isn't sick. She's a dancer. Take her to a dance school." And can you imagine? Gillian walked into that dance school and said it was like coming home. She found her tribe, a whole room full of people who couldn't sit still, people who had to move to think. That little girl went on to choreograph some of the most successful musicals of all time, like Cats and The Phantom of the Opera, bringing joy to millions. Which brings us to Robinson's final and I think most beautiful idea. He says we need a whole new way of thinking about human talent. He calls it a new human ecology. So what is human ecology? Well, think about it like this. We understand that our planet has finite natural resources and we need to protect them. Robinson says our richest resource is human imagination and creativity. But for centuries, our schools have been strip mining our minds, digging for this one single thing, academic ability, and just tossing the rest aside. It's time to become farmers, not miners, to nurture the rich diversity of all human talent. So in the end, he leaves us with this challenge. The future is completely unpredictable. We have no idea what it's going to look like. So our task isn't to prepare kids for something we can't imagine. It's to educate their whole being so that they can face that future and make something wonderful of it on their own terms. It's just such a powerful vision. If you believe we need to nurture creativity and you want to keep exploring these kinds of big ideas, please don't forget to subscribe and give this explainer a like. Thanks so much for watching.